Terrance Howard, arguably one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, right? You know, he had a role in Iron Man, the first one, before getting recast after his salary was apparently cut. You know, he's kind of gone down this route of scientist, and he had a recent feud with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who of course is one of the biggest physicists and scientists in the space. You know, he's been really vocal, especially on the Joe Rogan podcast and stuff. But he's just come out on a brand new podcast called the PBD podcast and spoke about an encounter that he had with P. Diddy, the music mogul who is now currently behind bars and is probably going to face life in prison for, well, you probably know the details, right? It's a messy thing. So obviously Terrance came on this podcast and, you know, made headlines with his claims about an uncomfortable encounter with Sean Diddy Combs during a podcast interview. Howard alleged that Diddy invited him multiple times to provide acting lessons, but the meetings felt, quote, off, with Diddy reportedly just staring at him without engaging in an actual coaching. Howard said that his assistant suggested that Diddy's intentions were potentially sexual, prompting him to cut off contact. He also made broader controversial statements implying that attendees of Diddy's parties compromised their integrity, though he didn't provide any scientific evidence. These comments come amid Diddy's ongoing legal issues, including some very serious charges, but Howard's claims remain unverified and have sparked a mix of reactions online, with some questioning his credibility due to his historical and unconventional statements. Others see it as part of a larger conversation about Hollywood dynamics. That's basically the gist of what is going on. Now, with regards to this, obviously, the clip here kind of tells a very big story. So let's have a little listen to it together.
When you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card, no matter what.
Man, I mean, one of the things you're seeing, you went to a whole different place.
Sorry.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit because the man card means everything.
So you can see why, obviously, it's polarized the internet and it's been deemed a bit of a hot take. Some people are stating that this is, fair. Some people are stating that it's a bit messy and, he's kind of off the mark. But, obviously, right there, he hinted at a similar experience with other producers, claiming that he's been threatened into physical confrontation to shut down inappropriate advances. He emphasized his refusal to take roles with conflict his principles, like playing gay characters, framing it as preserving his man card. And these remarks have stirred, some heavy debate online, with some praising his condor and other about Hollywood's underbelly, and others, criticizing his views on masculinity as outdated and problematic. Now, on Diddy's side, Howard's allegations align with the turbulent period. Diddy's facing federal charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering, and many others, with a trial set for May of 2025. And Howard's story adds to the ever-growing list of accusations, though it's worth noting that no formal charges stem from his specific claims. And some reports mention past tensions between the two, like Diddy allegedly blocking his stepson from Howard's show Empire over music rights. And it's unclear if it's actually related, but as you can imagine, the online world reaction has been incredibly mixed, with some ex-posts amplifying Howard's story as evidence of deeper industry issues, while others question his reliability, citing his past eccentric comments, like his unconventional math theories. With conversations heated without corroboration, it's hard to pin down the full truth. Now, that's obviously just where we're currently at with this whole situation. It obviously does align with what, has been said about P. Diddy so far, but at the same time, it's uncorroborated, it's unverified, and, these are just claims. And, he's not exactly the most... Terrance Howard is not exactly the most credible source of information, so you can see why people are kind of scratching their heads and wondering if he's just doing 2 + 2 = 5 once again, which I'm pretty sure is an argument that he's tried to make. So yeah, the whole situation is up in the air. The whole thing is absolutely bonkers. But what do you guys make of it? Is Terrance Howard basically whistleblowing, or is he just full of hot air? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. While you're down there, jump to get the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.